Yes, we're better than where we were than last year. But Mr. Rwani, credit to private sector is one thing you speak about all the time. How do we get this done? The government seems to have settled, on the fiscal side, seems to have settled itself into capital expenditure and social investment program. Look like that's the twin way they want to go. But the monetary authorities would have to do something. And you spoke all the time, almost on a daily basis, the need to lower interest rate. Do you see the windows closing here for the central bank to do any major interest rate cuts before the electioneering period gets started? If we can't get this done July 23rd and 24th, should the central bank do something with the cash reserve ratio or the liquidity ratio?
It's already too late. Any move by the central bank now will be read as politically motivated. So if you do it now, maybe better late than never in July. But after that, you don't alter monetary policy parameters 9 months or 6 months to an election. It's just too late. So what you need to do is to tinker with maybe the cash reserve ratio, a couple of other things. But you see, what's happening is that even if you bring it down now, when the US is increasing interest rates, then you will accentuate maybe capital outflight. But in any case, whether you bring it down or take it up, capital flight is going to take place because of election uncertainty. So our reserves are strong enough to support that. I think that what we should be doing is leveling with the Nigerian public that irrespective of elections, irrespective of capital flight, our reserves are at $47–48 billion. Even if we discount it by another $15 or $17 billion, we are still in a good place. We would have $30 billion, and that is safe and solid for facing an election. I don't think there's a problem. So if you ask me, I would tell you that, yes, you could move down interest rates and move down the cash reserve ratio this time in July. If you don't do it, then you have to use other instruments to create liquidity and de-risk the sector, because banks are not lending just because of interest rates. They are not lending because they feel the environment is too risky. So you got to de-risk it and discontinue all of these interventions here and there, because credit should be a natural sequence of market forces, not by intervention. We are going to give support to people and all that. By having this intervention program, you're already assuming that sectors will be in failure, and therefore you will support them when they fail. Why do you have to support them when they fail? Why don't you ensure that they don't fail in the first place? That's why you need an interest rate environment that is supportive and pro-cyclical.
Mr. Rwani, AMCON just announced that they're going to go after debtors and seize assets, 5.3 trillion naira, if folks don't step forward and pay what they owe. What's your view on that? Do you think this is a statement that the markets and the economy should take on board?
Yes, it's a very important statement, because there's the moral hazard, and then there's the fact that 5.3 trillion naira is 60% of our budget in 1 year. What we need to do is to ensure that we collect our money. You can't have a free ride. First of all, these guys have taken a free ride on the banks. Now they're taking a free ride on AMCON. And you see a lot of these guys are living large, living on the fast lane. It's time to call a spade a spade. And maybe you don't get everything, but you must actually not just back, you must back and bite and send the right signals to the market that you can't just take money, public money, depositors' money, and have a party with it. I think that's the time for that is over. So I credit AMCON with what it's doing, and I think you can see that AMCON's results were better this year because of a combination of factors. So I think that's the right thing to do.
In terms of the financial markets, I'm sure you give some investment advice to foreigners who want to do business with Nigeria on the portfolio side and on direct investment side. What are you hearing at this time as we step into the election year? What are their concerns, and what assurances or reassurances are you providing them so that we don't have as much bleeding or flight as we had in 2014-2015 period this time around?
No, it's not going to happen this time, because what's happening is that emerging markets as a whole are facing pressures, because developed markets are now beginning to increase interest rates. So we are going to have reversal of capital flows. And that's why I mentioned earlier on that because of our high level of reserves, we have the buffers to withstand that. We are not going to stop them. Whether you speak from now to tomorrow, whether you increase interest rates, the foreign portfolio investors are going to take their money anyway. And then they probably bring it back after the election is settled and things are done. So the Nigerian story is intact. The Nigerian story will go through a 4-year electoral cycle as long as democracy prevails in Nigeria. So we should build that into our planning. That's why we look for foreign direct investments and again foreign portfolio investments. And that any attempt to actually increase your interest rate and strangulate your economy because you are trying to attract or keep foreign portfolio investors is a bridge to nowhere. What we should do is to accept that they will come in when they see a spread, and they will go out when they see political uncertainty and when there are reversal of capital flows. But the Nigerian story remains intact, and that investments will continue coming long term. So what is our GDP growth story? We are going to do about 1.8 to 2% this year. Next year is going to be slightly lower, but in 2020, we begin to see an increase based on the theme of the economic growth and recovery plan, which has been well articulated.
Mr. Wani, thank you very much for your time. This is the first Monday in the month and the first half of the year. I'm sure there'll be a lot of directors, boards, management meetings you need to attend to. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. From Financial Derivatives, the Chief Executive Officer and Channel Television Economic Consultants. The stock market finished off 1.1% on the positive side for the final week in June. Overall, the market was in the red. You had the story, emerging markets. Downturn knocked the frontier markets where Nigeria belonged in the first half of the year. Even for developed markets, Europe was the worst performer among the global markets. Developed markets in the first half of the year. United States was the #1. You heard about the interest rate hike. All this we put together in what we consider as the playbook for the equities market in the second half of the year. We're done with the first half. Let's look at the second half of the March. Who wins? Let's take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching Business Morning, Monday, July the 2nd.